everybody. Sorry, I meant to post yesterday, but we got home fairly late from the hospital. But Saturday, he had a pretty good day, moved a step down, and I went out with my buddy James, and we went to the NC State Virginia Tech game, which we both joked that we could just tell people we went to the game, and they would have thought that we went to, the Carolina Duke game. But he took me to a place that holds the Guinness World Record, which is the beer garden for most beers on tap. It was pretty fun. And also, we came back, and John David got to experience in the family tradition of watching the Duke Carolina game. We've done that pretty much with Hunter ever since he's been born. We've got pictures of him. If you go back and look at him from 0 to 1, like he's wearing earmuffs. He was, gosh, I think he was like 2 months old or like 3 months old, and we had earmuffs on him because we were getting loud watching the game. But it is always fun to watch that, and so and also fun tidbit with that, we were watching it, and in the final few minutes, Dr. Turek, who's the head of the surgery program at Duke for um, congenital heart defects, came by and watched the ending of the game with us, and it was pretty awesome. And almost kind of full circle on a few things. So when we got there in February last year, the Carolina Duke game was coming up, and we had a fellow who's on our case, Andrew Brown, or I guess who John David was on his case, load, and we were he went to Carolina. He's a Carolina fan, so we were talking about we were going to watch the game, like we'll have it on that Saturday night. Well, unfortunately, that Saturday night, I think John David was I can't remember if he was on ECMO or if he had just gotten off, and I think that was the night that maybe the news of the stroke came in. But anyways, this is why we call him Uncle Andrew, because he was there for first surgery, he was there for first cardiac arrest, first ECMO run, and then first stroke. So he was there for all of that, and that was all around kind of the Carolina Duke game. And we had joked about being there and watching it, and then lo and behold, almost a whole year later, we're still there watching the Duke Carolina game. So just kind of full circle. And it was a really fun game. Carolina hit the game winning shot, and anyways, I'm going on a tangent. But Saturday was good. Sunday was a day of stability. We made no changes whatsoever. He had a pretty good day, and each day so far, he has been getting a little better with at least gross motor movement in his right arm. His right leg has been a little bit harder to assess because he had a pick line in it, and in that pick line they have what they call a turkey foot. So like the pick line goes in. So like if this is the pick line, it then spreads out into three like specific lines so they can feed different things into the line. But he has that or had that in his leg. I'll get to it's not there anymore, but had that in his leg. And so that kind of limited how much we could really assess because it kind of weighed it down. And so his arm has been getting better, across the board between different people who've kind of watched in the last several days, and we all kind of agree that he's gaining more motion in it. However, again, we're not sitting here saying like, "Oh my gosh, he's fully recovered and healed." Nothing like that. We went from basically having no movement to having a little bit more movement every day. So we're not in any way, shape, or form trying to say like, "Oh my gosh, it's like completely healed." It's going to take months for that and a lot of rehab. But the good news is that a little bit every day, he is continuing to take those little baby steps forward. Now, today he ended up getting an ultrasound on his leg. Mallory had noticed that it was a little swollen and had requested one, and they put it in. Actually, she noticed it yesterday on Sunday and requested it, and they put it in, but nobody did it until today. And when they did it, they found a clot around his PICC line, which is that thing I was just telling you they pulled out. And had he not had a stroke in the last 2 weeks, what they would do is the same thing they did back in November when he had a clot in his right arm for where he had a PIV. They would just pull it out like they did the PICC line today, and they would start giving him anticoagulation or blood thinners for the clot to help break it down faster. Since he just had a hemorrhagic stroke, which is basically a spontaneous bleed, and they are pretty sure that happened because of the amount of blood thinners he was on for the cath lab, they weighed a lot of different options, And so he is going to go about a week without any blood thinners. He's going to basically, they just pulled the PICC line today. They'll do probably a follow-up ultrasound either tomorrow or the day after to make sure that the clot is not occlusive, meaning completely blocked off. And I hear somebody who just got up who's looking for me. Hold on. Before Hunter hops in, some things that I had a hard time thinking about when he was in here. One, so because of all the clotting and everything today, the rehab plans will be pushed back because the clotting obviously takes precedence to make sure we need to kind of get this taken care of first. So we were thinking probably Wednesday or Thursday of this week he would be going to Charlotte to go to Levine's Children's Hospital for intensive rehab for basically his stroke rehabilitation, trying to recover function on that right side. But because of the clot, that's going to get pushed back at least a week, probably 2 weeks, is probably the more realistic timeline. And so that has been kind of a monkey wrench thrown in here. But again, John David likes making us adjust. He likes throwing curveballs, so we'll just pivot. And then also, Hunter's favorite thing at the game tonight was actually the mascot, and he just loved the fact that there was a gator, and he kept asking, "Are you real or not?" And whoever was in the mascot did a phenomenal job because they never did talk, and so he was just he was convinced that they were real, and that it was a nice gator. And then one other thing, outside of watching videos done by like High Adventure videos and Outdoor Boys and things of that nature, Kendall Gray, Hunter will see the thumbnails sometimes of like John David or those types of videos, like actually these videos, and he'll watch them every now and again. And so that's one of the pictures. But he does like seeing not so much this part of the update, but he likes seeing the clips at the end. But the other thing today that was really sweet was John David has gotten to the point where he recognizes who's in hospital garb and who's not, and he very much does not like the people who are in hospital garb, and so when he sees them, he does tend to panic, and which is understandable given kind of how his last couple weeks have gone. And so it is interesting that he is starting to recognize that, which is good from like a neurological side because he's cognitive enough to be like, okay, yes, you are bad, and then like people that he knows, he looks at and is reassured and is good. But then also we had the neurological team come in and talk to us this morning, just checking in on him, doing an assessment, and he was crying, and Hunter could hear him through the phone, and he's like, "Hey, y'all get away from my brother." So he is protective from 3 hours away. But he does love being a big brother, and he is very protective of John David. So we are very thankful for that. Now Hunter's about to hop in.
There's the picture.
As y'all can see, we have had somebody join us for a few minutes, and then we're going to go back to bed. But he will have a follow-up to make sure that it is not occlusive. The plan is to give it about 7 or 10 days, somewhere in that range, and then start, I think we talked about this before, the Lovenox. It's a blood thinner, but it's a injection. And that's what he did back in November when he had that clot in his right arm. And so we'll basically do a 7-day treatment of those shots to treat his clot in his right leg. So yeah, today was kind of another punch in the gut. But I actually ate some chocolate today, and one of the things that was in the Dove chocolate was, "You've made it this far, keep going." And it just made me think of, John David has taken all these and he just keeps going. And it also reminded me of Forrest Gump, who, he ran to the edge of the county and then he just kept on going, and he ran to the edge of the state and he just kept on going, and then he just kept on running. And I feel like that's kind of how we are in this. There are definitely times where this feels like you have your legs swept out from underneath you, or you take a punch in the gut, but we've made it this far, so let's just keep on going. Also today we had the East Columbus basketball teams honor John David, and we had planned on him being there for the halftime, but given that he's still in the hospital, we went as a family, and they recognized us, and we got a chance to say thank you because they did a little fundraising for us, and again, I held it together for the most part, talking up until the last line of there's no way that we could have done this last year without our community and without our support system. Hold on, buddy. But we really truly could not have done it without having all the support that we've had. And so, again, I know I've said this before, but to anybody who has done anything for us, prayed for us, donated, done truly anything, thank y'all so much. We really, really appreciate it. Hunter Blake, I need you to stop for a moment. And if y'all would pray for these two things: one, that John David will do well and that this clot will not cause any problems in the period while we're waiting to start treating it. Two, if you would pray for all of the families who've lost loved ones, especially those who have lost children. And then three, if you'll pray for all of the kids and families who are battling congenital heart defects, because again, this is a tough road. But that's all I got for y'all tonight. Hope y'all have a good night and God bless. And y'all continue to choose hope daily.
Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye. You think so? You did? You think so?
What are we watching?
You want me
Still want to donate it again, but right now we just want to donate this to Coach Murray.
Cry like a baby.
John David was born before congenital heart defects. Thank y'all so much for supporting us. We would not have gotten through the last year without our community support. So thank y'all so much. We really appreciate it.
Look at that octopus there.
What is it?
It's an octopus. It's a king octopus.
A king octopus? What is that?
That one's bad.
A bad what?
A bad octopus. He's a bad octopus.
And John David, how'd that go down?